The control room was in a panic. Deafening alarms echoed through the concrete walls of the Riverside nuclear power plant in central Ohio. Red lights flashed like warning lightning. On the main monitor, numbers rose wildly. Reactor temperature, 1,200 degrees Celsius and climbing. "We need someone now," shouted Supervisor Marcus Reed, sweat running down his forehead as he watched the technicians running from one side to the other without knowing what to do. That's when the door opened. Tyler Brennan entered slowly, his bulky figure filling the doorway. He carried a heavy backpack on his back and a yellow helmet under his arm. His 158 kilos distributed over 1.75 meters made some coaches look askance. But Tyler didn't look away from anyone. His blue eyes were fixed on the blinking monitor. Marcus turned sharply. "You?" His voice dripped with contempt. "Tyler Brennan? The guy we failed the interview 3 times? Tyler took a deep breath. "Mr. Reed, I know you didn't hire me because you thought I wouldn't be able to climb the emergency stairs or enter the maintenance tunnels, but I know this reactor better than anyone in this room." Marcus let out a short, bitter laugh. "Do you know? Boy, you didn't even get past the second phase of the selection process. I will not put the safety of thousands of people in the hands of someone who can barely tie their own shoes without losing their breath." A piercing silence fell over the room. Tyler swallowed hard. Those words hurt more than any insult he had ever heard before, and it wasn't a few times. From the age of 12, when he gained weight after his mother's death, Tyler learned that the world judged by the size of the body, before knowing the size of the mind. But today was not the day to cry. "Sir," Tyler said firmly, pointing to the monitor, "that temperature spike is happening because the secondary cooling valve is stuck. If no one manually unlocks it within the next 6 minutes, the core will collapse. And when that happens, there won't be anything left within a 20-mile radius." Marcus blinked in surprise. He looked at the surrounding technicians who seemed paralyzed. "How do you know that?" Tyler didn't respond immediately. Instead, he walked over to the side panel and began typing quick commands on the keyboard. His fingers flew across the keys with surgical precision. "Because I've studied every inch of this plant for the last 4 years. Since you first rejected me, I haven't stopped learning. I read all the technical manuals, watched all the online lectures, memorized all the emergency protocols. I knew that one day you would need me." One of the younger coaches, Andrew, stepped forward. "He's right, Mr. Reed. Valve 7B is stuck. But to get to her," Andrew hesitated, looking Tyler up and down, "you need to cross the southern ventilation tunnel. It is only 80 centimeters wide." Marcus crossed his arms, a cynical smile forming on his lips. "See, Brennan? Even if you wanted to, you couldn't do that. You are too big, too fat. Just admit it and get out of here before I call security." Tyler felt his blood boil, but it wasn't anger. It was determination. He took off his backpack and slowly opened it. From inside, he pulled out a set of specialized tools: magnetic Allen wrenches, portable thermal gauges, and something that made Marcus's eyes widen: a printed 3-dimensional map of the entire plant, with handwritten notes on every corridor, every valve, every emergency exit. "I'm not going through the ventilation tunnel, Mr. Reed." Tyler unfolded the map on the table. "I'm going the alternative route. Here." He pointed to a narrow passage marked with red pen. "East Drainage Tunnel, 90 centimeters wide. Direct access to the valve room. 3.5 minutes of brisk walking." Andrew approached the map, impressed. "This route was deactivated 2 years ago. It was isolated, not deactivated," Tyler corrected. "The door still opens with the B-Wing master key. I checked this 3 months ago when I came to hand in my last resume." Marcus frowned. His confidence was beginning to waver. "Wait, were you inside the plant without authorization?" Tyler didn't look away. "I came to deliver my resume in person. The security guard at the entrance, Mr. Gus, let me in because I brought him coffee every morning for 2 months. He knows me, and trust me." Marcus clenched his fists. That was a direct blow to his pride. An unemployed man had gained access to a maximum security facility simply by being nice to a guard. "This is trespassing." "That's kind, Mr. Reed," Tyler replied calmly. "Something you may no longer recognize." The air became thick. Some technicians. They exchanged uncomfortable glances. Marcus was being publicly challenged, and everyone knew it. Tyler looked at the clock on the wall. 4 minutes and 15 seconds left. "Mr. Reed, you can continue to judge me by my weight, or you can let me save your plant, your lives, and the lives of all the families who live near here." He didn't wait for a response. He turned on his heel and walked to the door. Marcus was frozen for 2 seconds. Then he shouted, "Someone go with him! Now!" Andrew grabbed a radio and ran after Tyler. As Tyler descended the emergency stairs with surprising speed for someone his size, Andrew tried to keep pace. "Tyler, wait!" Andrew panted. "Are you sure you can do this?" Tyler didn't slow down. "Andrew, how many times have you been rejected for something you can't control?" Andrew was silent. "I've been rejected 27 times in the last 4 years. Tyler continued, taking the stairs 3 at a time. 19 engineering companies, 8 different plants. And they all told me the same thing. You're no good. Not because I don't know how to do the job, but because I don't look like I know. They reached the basement corridor. Tyler stopped in front of a heavy metal door with a yellow sign. Restricted access. Maintenance only. He pulled a key from his pocket. Andrew's eyes widened. Where did you get that from? Mr. Gus. Tyler smiled slightly. He gave me a copy 3 months ago. He said that if I ever needed to prove myself, this key would give me the chance. Tyler turned the key in the lock. The door creaked open, revealing a narrow, dark tunnel, lit only by small emergency lights on the ceiling. Andrew swallowed hard. Tyler, this tunnel looks smaller than 3 feet. It's exactly 92 centimeters, Tyler replied, placing the backpack in front of his body. I measured. He entered the tunnel sideways, taking a deep breath. The space was tight. His back brushed the concrete wall, but he continued advancing, step by step, with Andrew close behind. Tyler, Andrew said, voice shaking, if you can't pass, I'll make it. Tyler cut in, determined, because I didn't come here to fail. As he moved through the tunnel, a memory popped into his mind. 4 years ago, Riverside Power Plant interview room. Tyler was sitting in a chair that was too small for him, clearly uncomfortable. Marcus Reed was on the other side of the table, leafing through his resume with a barely concealed expression of disdain. Graduated in nuclear engineering from the State University. Excellent grades, Marcus said without looking up from the paper. But tell me, Tyler, how do you intend to work in a factory if you can barely fit into an office chair? Tyler swallowed the humiliation. Mr. Reed, my physical capacity does not define my intellectual capacity. Marcus laughed. Boy, this isn't an office. It's a nuclear power plant. You will need to climb stairs, enter tunnels, carry heavy equipment. Look at you. Do you really think you can do it? Tyler opened his mouth to respond, but Marcus was already on his feet holding out his hand. Thank you for coming. Let's get in touch. They never entered. Back to the present. Tyler came out of the tunnel, panting but steady. Andrew followed closely behind, impressed. Dude, you did it. Tyler didn't respond. He ran to the valve room, opened the metal door, and found valve 7B stuck, just as he had predicted. Steam escaped from the sides. The temperature was suffocating. He took the magnetic key from his backpack and got to work. Andrew spoke on the radio. Mr. Reed, Tyler arrived at the valve. He's working on it now. On the other side, Marcus's tense voice responded. How long does he have? Tyler looked at the thermal gauge. 1 minute and 40 seconds. He turned the key hard. The valve resisted. Sweat ran down his face. He took a deep breath and exerted all his strength. Clunk. The valve unlocked. Tyler turned the manual steering wheel a full 3 times. The sound of coolant flowing through the system echoed through the tunnel. Andrew shouted over the radio. He did it. The temperature is dropping. On the other side, in the control room, the technicians burst into cries of relief. Marcus Reed was frozen, staring at the monitor. The numbers were dropping quickly. 100 degrees, 1,000 degrees, 900 degrees. Tyler leaned against the wall, exhausted. Andrew ran up to him and put his hand on his shoulder. Tyler, you just saved thousands of lives. Tyler closed his eyes for a second. Then he smiled slightly. I know. A single sentence echoed in his mind. Something his grandfather, a retired naval engineer, always said. It doesn't matter the size of the ship, Tyler. It matters the size of the heart of whoever is at the helm. And today, Tyler Brennan was about to prove that his heart was big enough to change everything. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because what happened when Tyler returned to the control room was something no one expected. Tyler climbed the stairs back to the control room with Andrew by his side. Each step seemed heavier than the last, not because of physical exhaustion, but because of the tension of what was to come. He knew that Marcus Reed was not the type of man who easily admitted mistakes. When the door opened, all eyes turned to him. The room was silent. The alarms had stopped. The red lights went out. On the main monitor, the numbers were stable. 650 degrees Celsius. Safe. Controlled. Tyler stood in the doorway, panting, sweat running down his face. His shirt was soaked. His hands were shaking slightly from the adrenaline. Marcus Reed stood in the center of the room, arms crossed, jaw clenched. He looked Tyler up and down, as if he were assessing faulty equipment. No words of gratitude, no handshake, just silence. It was Andrew who broke the ice. Mr. Reed, Tyler did it. He manually unlocked the valve and restored the cooling system. If it weren't for him, I know what he did, Andrew. Marcus cut in, his voice cold as ice. And now explain something to me, Brennan. How the hell did you have a restricted access key to an area that was supposed to be locked 2 years ago? Tyler took a deep breath. He knew this question was coming. Mr. Gus gave it to me. Marcus took a step forward, pointing his finger at Tyler. So you admit that you invaded private property without authorization? Who violated security protocols? Who put this entire plant at risk with his irresponsible actions? Tyler felt his blood boil, but he kept his voice calm. Mr. Reed, with all due respect, I did not put anyone at risk. I saved this plant. I saved you all. And if you can't recognize that, then the problem isn't my body, it's your pride. The silence that followed was deafening. The technicians exchanged nervous glances. No one dared challenge Marcus Reed like that. He was known for destroying careers with a single word. Marcus took 2 steps forward, standing inches from Tyler's face. Do you think you're a hero, boy? Do you think that because you solved a problem you now deserve a medal? He looked around the room, making sure everyone was listening. Let me tell you something. This problem only happened because someone failed to carry out preventive maintenance. And do you know who is responsible for supervising this maintenance? I. Tyler frowned. So you're saying that? I'm saying you made me look incompetent in front of my team, Marcus hissed. And that, Brennan, is something I won't forget. Tyler felt the weight of those words. He hadn't come here to make enemies. He had come to help, to prove your worth. But now he realized that for men like Marcus Reed, being saved by someone they despised was a greater humiliation than any technical failure. Mr. Reed, I didn't come here to humiliate anyone. I came because lives were at risk. Marcus took a step back and crossed his arms again. And now that the risk is over, you can leave. What? Andrew interrupted in disbelief. Sir, Tyler just saved the plant. He should be rewarded, not expelled. Marcus turned to Andrew with an icy gaze. Andrew, if you want to continue working here, I suggest you keep quiet. Then he went back to Tyler. Brennan, you are not an employee of this plant. It never was, and it never will be. You entered here without authorization, used a key you shouldn't have, and accessed restricted areas. I could sue you for that. Tyler felt his throat tighten. He had just saved thousands of lives, and now he was being treated like a criminal. So this is how it works? Tyler said, his voice shaking with suppressed emotion. I do the work that no one here has been able to do, and I'm still threatened? Marcus smiled. It was a cruel, calculated smile. You did the work you thought needed to be done, but who's to say it wasn't you who caused the problem from the beginning? Maybe you sabotaged the valve just so you could appear as a hero. The accusation fell like a bomb. Tyler's eyes widened in disbelief. Are you accusing me of sabotage? I'm saying it's a possibility, Marcus replied, looking around the room. After all, how did you know exactly which valve had the problem? How did you know exactly which route to take? It seems too convenient, don't you think? Andrew exploded. This is ridiculous. Tyler has studied this plant for years. He knew because he prepared, or because he planned it, Marcus replied. Tyler felt his legs weaken. Not because of the accusation itself, but because of the calculated cruelty behind it. Marcus Reed was willing to destroy his reputation just to protect his own. Mr. Reed, Tyler said, voice low but firm. You know that's not true. You saw the records. He saw the temperature rising. This was not sabotage. It was a mechanical failure. Marcus shrugged. I'm going to ask for a full investigation. Until then, you don't set foot here again. He pointed to the door. Now leave. Tyler looked around the room. Some technicians looked away, embarrassed. Others looked shocked, but no one had the courage to speak, except one. A woman of about 50, gray hair tied into a bun, stood up from her chair. Her name was Dorothy Chen, head of engineering at the plant, and the only person in the room with authority equal to Marcus's. Marcus, this has already crossed the line, Dorothy said, her voice firm. Tyler Brennan saved this plant, saved our lives, and you're treating him like a criminal because your ego can't handle admitting you were wrong. Marcus turned to her, eyes sparkling. Dorothy, that's none of your business. And yes, she replied, crossing her arms, because I am the person who approves or rejects the contracts for this plant. And I just saw with my own eyes that Tyler Brennan has more competence, courage, and technical knowledge than half the employees you've approved in the last 2 years. Marcus blushed. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Dorothy walked up to Tyler and held out her hand. Tyler, my name is Dorothy Chen, and I'd like to talk to you about a position at this plant. Officially. Tyler looked at the outstretched hand, then at Dorothy, then at Marcus. He was confused, emotional, exhausted, but he shook her hand. It would be an honor, Mrs. Chen. Marcus exploded. Dorothy, you can't do this without my approval. Yes, I can, Marcus, Dorothy replied calmly, and I will do it, because unlike you, I know talent when I see it. Marcus clenched his fists. His breathing was rapid. He was losing control of the situation, and everyone in the room knew it. Very good, Marcus said, his voice low and dangerous. But let me warn you something, Brennan. If you think you will have an easy life here, you are very mistaken. I will keep an eye on every step you take, every mistake, every delay, every little flaw. And when you slip, and you will, I'll be there to take you down. Tyler looked into Marcus Reed's eyes and didn't look away. Mr. Reed, I've spent the last 4 years being rejected by people like you, and each rejection only made me stronger, so you can try to bring me down all you want, because I didn't come this far to give up now." He turned his back and left the room with Dorothy at his side. Andrew ran after them. "Tyler, wait." Tyler stopped in the hallway. Andrew was panting, but smiling. "Man, that was incredible. I've never seen anyone face Marcus Reed like that." Tyler gave a tired smile. "I don't know if it was incredible or stupid." Dorothy placed her hand on his shoulder. "It was courage, Tyler, and that's exactly why I want you on my team." Tyler felt a wave of emotion rise through his chest. He had dreamed of this moment for 4 years, and now finally it was happening, but something still bothered him. As they walked down the hall, Tyler looked at Dorothy. "Madam Chen, may I ask you a question?" "Of course. Why does Mr. Reed hate me so much? I mean, I understand he's proud, but this feels personal." Dorothy stopped walking. She looked at Tyler with a serious expression. "Tyler, there's something you need to know about Marcus Reed." She hesitated, as if choosing her words carefully. 10 years ago, Marcus had a brother, younger, named Daniel. He was also an engineer, bright, but he had health problems, including obesity, and on an emergency maintenance day, Daniel had a heart attack inside an access tunnel. He couldn't get out in time, and he died there. Tyler felt his stomach drop. "Marcus never got over it," Dorothy continued, "and since then he's developed this paranoia. He believes that overweight people should not work in risky environments, not because he's cruel, but because he is afraid of losing someone else in the same way." Tyler was silent, processing the information. That explained a lot, but it didn't justify it. "I'm sorry about his brother," Tyler said finally, "but that doesn't give him the right to judge me without knowing me." Dorothy nodded. "You are sure, and that's why I'm going to give you the chance Marcus never did." She handed Tyler a card. "Monday, 8 in the morning, my office. Let's talk about your official hiring." Tyler took the card, eyes shining. "Thank you, Mrs. Chen. I won't disappoint. I know you won't." Dorothy smiled. "Now go home. Rest. You deserve." Tyler left the plant with slow steps, but firm. When he reached the parking lot, he stopped and looked back. The plant was illuminated against the dark sky. He had just saved that place, and now, finally, he would have the chance to be part of it. But as he walked to his beat-up old car, Tyler didn't know that Marcus Reed was already up to something that could destroy everything before it even started, because what Marcus discovered that night would change everything. Tyler could barely sleep that night. He lay in the small apartment he shared with his grandfather, staring at the cracked ceiling, replaying every second of what had happened at the plant. Marcus's accusation, the look of contempt, but also Dorothy Chen's outstretched hand, the chance. At 5 o'clock on Saturday morning, he gave up trying to sleep. He got up, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table with his old laptop. He opened a digital folder he'd kept for years, Riverside Project. Inside it, there were hundreds of files, detailed maps of the plant, updated security protocols, technical maintenance reports from the last 10 years, everything he could gather by obsessively studying about that place. But now he needed something more, because Tyler knew Marcus Reed wasn't going to give up. Men like him never gave up when they felt threatened, and if Dorothy was going to offer an official position, Marcus would do anything to sabotage it. Tyler needed to be prepared. He opened a new document and started typing. Contingency plan, Marcus Reed. It felt like paranoia, but Tyler had learned the hard way that when you're unfairly judged for your body, you need to be 10 times more prepared than anyone else. His grandfather, George Brennan, shuffled into the kitchen wearing a threadbare robe and holding a mug of coffee. "Didn't you even sleep, boy?" Tyler looked up and smiled tiredly. "I couldn't, Grandpa." George sat down next to him and looked at the laptop screen. "Still thinking about the plant?" "I'm thinking about what comes next," Tyler replied. "Dorothy Chen offered me a chance, but Marcus Reed won't let it go." George took a sip of his coffee and was silent for a moment. "Do you know what I learned in the 40 years I spent as a naval engineer?" he finally said. "That insecure men are the most dangerous, because they don't fight to win. They fight to make you lose." Tyler nodded slowly. "So how do I change the game?" George smiled. "You don't play their game, Tyler. You play your own game, and he plays better." Tyler looked at his grandfather in awe. George had been her only source of support since her mother died, when everyone gave up on him, when doctors told him he would never lose weight, when companies rejected him dozens of times. George was the one who stood by him. "Grandpa, do you think I can do it?" Tyler asked, his voice low. "Work there? Prove to everyone that I deserve it?" George placed his hand on his grandson's shoulder. "Tyler, you already tried it yesterday. Saved an entire plant. Saved lives. Now you just need to prove to yourself that you belong there. And when you do, nothing Marcus Reed says will matter." Tyler felt a lump in his throat. He hugged his grandfather, holding on tight. "Thank you, Grandpa. Always, boy. Always." Monday, 7:45 a.m. Tyler parked his old car in the Riverside power plant parking lot. He was wearing a light blue dress shirt, black pants, and shoes that he had polished 3 times that morning. In his hand, he carried a folder of documents and a printed copy of his technical portfolio. He took a deep breath and walked to the main entrance. The gate guard, Mr. Gus, a black man in his early 60s with graying hair and a warm smile, looked up when he saw Tyler approaching. "Tyler Brennan," Gus smiled widely. "I heard what you did on Friday. Boy, you've become a legend around here." Tyler smiled, surprised. "Serious?" "Serious." Gus leaned in and lowered his voice. "Half the technicians are commenting, saying you did in 15 minutes what they couldn't do in an hour. Marcus Reed is pissed, but Dorothy Chen has been smiling for 3 days. Tyler chuckled softly. "Good to know that I have at least one person on my side." Gus pointed to himself. "2 people. I always knew you had something special, boy. From the first day you showed up here with that resume and that stubborn smile." Tyler felt a rush of gratitude. "Thank you, Mr. Gus, for everything, for the key, for the trust, for believing in me when no one else did." Gus waved his hand modestly. "I only did what was right. Now go out there and show them who you are." Tyler entered the building and made his way to the 2nd floor, where Dorothy Chen's office was. He knocked on the door at 8 sharp. "Come in." Dorothy's voice came from inside. Tyler opened the door and walked in. He found Dorothy sitting behind a tidy desk, surrounded by stacks of technical reports and engineering diagrams. She was wearing reading glasses and smiled when she saw Tyler. "One off. I like that." Dorothy took off her glasses and pointed to the chair in front of her. "Sit down, Tyler." Tyler sat down, nervous, but in control. Dorothy folded her hands on the table and studied him for a moment. "Tyler, I'm going to be direct. I want to hire you, officially, as a junior nuclear maintenance and safety technician." Tyler felt his heart speed up. "Madam Chen, Dorothy raised her hand, interrupting. "But before you accept, I need you to understand something. Marcus Reed has been my colleague for 15 years, and even though we disagree on many things, he still has considerable power here. If I hire you, he will do everything to take you down. He will look for every error, every failure, every justification for firing you." Tyler nodded slowly. "I know. And even though you know that, you still want to work here?" Tyler looked straight into Dorothy's eyes. "Madam Chen, I have spent the last 4 years studying this plant. I memorized every protocol, every system, every valve. I was born to work here, and I won't let a man's prejudice stop me." Dorothy smiled. It was a smile of approval. "Great answer." She pulled a contract out of the drawer and placed it on the table. "Then welcome to the team, Tyler Brennan." Tyler took the pen with shaking hands and signed the contract. When he finished, he looked at Dorothy with shining eyes. "Thanks. I promise you won't regret it." "I know I won't," Dorothy replied. "Now, let's talk about your training. Andrew Miller will be your mentor for the next 3 months. He will teach you the daily routines, operational protocols, and introduce you to the rest of the team." Tyler smiled. "Andrew is a great guy." "He is. And he trusts you. That's rare around here." Dorothy stood up and held out her hand. "Your first official day is tomorrow, 7 in the morning. Don't be late." Tyler squeezed her hand firmly. "I am not going." Tyler floated out of Dorothy's office. He had succeeded. Finally. After 4 years, dozens of rejections, hundreds of nights studying alone, he had a real chance. But as he walked down the hallway, he heard a voice behind him. "So Dorothy really hired you?" Tyler turned around. Marcus Reed was leaning against the wall, arms crossed, a cold expression on his face. "Mr. Reed," Tyler said, keeping his voice neutral. Marcus approached slowly like a predator sizing up its prey. "Let me give you some advice, Brennan. Dorothy may have hired you, but that doesn't mean you'll last here. I'll be keeping an eye out. And the first time you slip, I'm going to throw you out of here so fast you won't even have time to get your things." Tyler took a deep breath. He wasn't going to be intimidated. "Mr. Reed, I respect your position here, but I didn't come to slip. I came to work, and I'm going to do it better than anyone you've ever hired." Marcus gave a dry laugh. "Trust. Interesting. Let's see how long this lasts." He walked past Tyler, bumping into his shoulder on purpose, and disappeared down the hall. Tyler stood still, processing the encounter. He knew this was just the beginning. Marcus was going to try to destroy him, and Tyler needed to be prepared. Tuesday, Tyler's first official day. Tyler arrived at the plant at 6:30 in the morning, half an hour ahead of schedule. He wanted to make a good impression. Andrew met him at the entrance to the locker room in a blue coach's uniform and hard hat. "Good morning, partner." Andrew smiled. "Ready for your first day?" Tyler smiled back. "More than ready." They spent the morning touring the plant. Andrew showed Tyler the daily inspection routines, critical maintenance points, radio communication protocols. Tyler absorbed everything like a sponge. "Man, you learn quickly," Andrew commented, impressed. "It usually takes weeks for someone to understand half of these things." Tyler shrugged. "I had already studied all of this before. I'm just confirming in practice." At lunchtime, Andrew took Tyler to the plant's cafeteria. It was a large space, full of metal tables and plastic chairs. About 30 employees were having lunch, talking in groups. When Tyler entered, a few eyes turned. Andrew noticed the tension and put his hand on Tyler's shoulder. Ignore it. People here are curious, but they are good people. They sat at an empty table. Tyler opened his lunchbox. Brown rice, grilled chicken, and broccoli. He was following a meal plan that his nutritionist had put together, not because he wanted to please anyone, but because he wanted to feel better about himself. That's when the female voice sounded behind him. "Are you Tyler Brennan?" Tyler turned around. A young woman, around 30, with short brown hair and red-rimmed glasses, was standing next to the table. She wore a badge that said, "Sophia Torres, security engineer." "I am," Tyler replied. Sophia smiled and held out her hand. "I heard what you did on Friday. I wanted to thank you. I have 2 small children. They live 10 kilometers from here. If that reactor had exploded..." She didn't finish the sentence. "It didn't need to." Tyler squeezed her hand. "I'm glad everyone is safe." Sophia sat at the table next to them. "I can ask a question?" "Of course. How did you know about the alternative route?" "I've worked here for 5 years and I've never heard of that drainage tunnel." Tyler smiled slightly. "I studied every inch of this plant. When you're rejected as many times as I was, you learn to prepare for all possibilities." Sophia nodded, impressed. "Well, if you need anything, I'm in Sector C. You can call me." "Thank you, Sophia." She got up and left. Andrew looked at Tyler with a smile. "Man, you're making friends fast." Tyler shrugged, but inside he was happy. Maybe, just maybe, he really belonged there. But as Tyler began to integrate, Marcus Reed was in his office, on the phone. "Yes, I want a full background check," Marcus said, his voice low. "Tyler Brennan, I want to know everything. Finances, medical history, criminal records, anything I can use." On the other end of the line, a voice responded. "Mr. Reed, is that cool?" Marcus smiled coldly. "I didn't pay you to judge me. I paid to do the work. Now do it." He hung up the phone and looked out the office window. Down below, Tyler was walking with Andrew, laughing about something. Marcus clenched his fists, because what Marcus was about to discover would change everything, and it would put Tyler in the biggest fight of his life. Wednesday, 9:15 a.m., 2 weeks later, Tyler was in Sector B, performing a routine inspection of the pressure gauges, when his radio beeped. "Tyler, this is Dorothy. I need you to come to my office now." Her voice was strained. Something was wrong. Tyler dropped his tools and ran up the stairs. When he arrived at Dorothy's office, he found the door ajar. He knocked lightly. "Come in, Tyler." He pushed the door and stopped. Dorothy was sitting behind the desk, her face serious. Beside her, Marcus Reed stood, arms crossed, a cocky smile on his lips. And in the chair in front of the table, a man in a gray suit that Tyler had never seen before. "Tyler, this is Mr. Richard Dalton from the Corporate Investigations Department," Dorothy said, her voice controlled. "He has some questions for you." Tyler felt his stomach sink. He looked at Marcus, who was practically glowing with satisfaction. Richard Dalton opened a folder and took out some documents. "Mr. Brennan, in recent days we have received worrying information about your conduct." He looked at Tyler with cold eyes. "Information that, if confirmed, would result in your immediate dismissal and possible legal action." Tyler swallowed hard. "What kind of information?" Dalton placed a document on the table. "Records of unauthorized access to restricted areas of the plant. Specifically, 3 occasions in the last 6 months when you were inside this facility outside of business hours without official permission." Tyler looked at the document. It was true. He had entered the plant after hours, but always with the knowledge of Mr. Gus. "I came to deliver resumes and accessed areas that require Level 3 security clearance." Marcus interrupted, approaching the table. "Areas like the control room, the eastern drainage tunnel, and even the administrative wing's technical files." Tyler looked at Dorothy desperately. "Madam Chen, I have never stolen anything. I never sabotaged anything. I just wanted to learn, prepare myself to sabotage Valve 7B and appear as a hero." Marcus cut in, his voice full of venom. Tyler's eyes widened. "Are you still with that lie?" Dalton raised his hand, asking for silence. "Mr. Brennan, these are serious accusations, and unfortunately the access logs indicate that you were near the valve room 2 days before the incident." He placed another document on the table. "And according to the maintenance records, Valve 7B was working perfectly until that date." Tyler felt his blood run cold. This was a trap, a perfectly constructed trap. "I didn't sabotage anything," Tyler said, his voice shaking. "I saved this plant." Marcus stepped forward, leaning across the table. "Or did you create the problem so you could solve it and gain pay attention? After all, you've been rejected 3 times. He must have been desperate to prove something." Tyler clenched his fists. He wanted to scream. I wanted to punch that arrogant smile off Marcus's face, but he knew that would only confirm everything Marcus was trying to prove. Dorothy finally spoke, her voice low. "Tyler, do you have anything to say in your defense?" Tyler looked at her. He saw the disappointment in her eyes, and that hurt more than any accusation. Madam Chen, I swear by all that is holy that I did nothing wrong. I joined this plant because I wanted to work here, because I dreamed about it. And yes, I accessed areas without formal permission, but never with the intention of harming anyone. Marcus let out a dry laugh. Intention doesn't matter, Brennan. Facts matter, and the facts say you are a security risk. Dalton closed the folder. Mr. Brennan, due to the seriousness of these allegations, I will recommend the immediate suspension of your activities while we conduct a full investigation. If something is found— Wait, the voice came from the door. Everyone turned. Andrew Miller stood in the doorway holding a laptop and a stack of papers. Next to him was Sophia Torres, and behind the two, Mr. Gus. Andrew entered the room, determined. Mr. Dalton, before you make any decision, you need to see this. Marcus frowned. Andrew, that's none of your business. And yes, Andrew replied, placing the laptop on the table, because I spent the last 3 days investigating Valve 7B, and I discovered something that Mr. Reed doesn't want anyone to know. Marcus went pale. What are you talking about? Andrew opened the laptop and rotated the screen so Dalton and Dorothy could see. It was a technical maintenance report, dated 3 weeks before the incident. This valve had been having problems for over a month, Andrew said, pointing to the data. Small pressure fluctuations, signs of mechanical wear, and according to protocol, she should have been replaced immediately. Dalton leaned over, reading the report. And why wasn't it? Andrew looked directly at Marcus. Because the supervisor responsible for approving emergency maintenance rejected the request, claiming excessive costs. The silence that followed was deafening. Dorothy slowly turned to Marcus. Marcus, is it true? Marcus opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Sophia stepped forward, placing documents on the table. There's more. I reviewed the access logs that Mr. Reed provided, and I discovered something interesting. She pointed to a specific line. Tyler Brennan was actually near the valve room 2 days before the incident, but he didn't go in. He passed through the hallway on his way to the administrative wing. And do you know who entered the valve room that day? She placed another document on the table. Coach James Norton, hired 6 months ago, under direct recommendation from Mr. Marcus Reed. Dalton took the document and read it out loud. James Norton, fired 3 weeks ago for negligence at work and failure to follow safety protocols. Marcus was sweating now. His arrogant confidence was crumbling. That doesn't prove anything. Yes, prove it. Mr. Gus spoke for the first time, his voice deep and firm. He entered the room and placed a flash drive on the table. Because I have the security recordings. Dorothy took the flash drive and plugged it into the computer. Everyone watched in silence as the images appeared on the screen. Date 3 weeks before the incident. 6:45 p.m. James Norton entered the valve room. He carried a toolbox. The cameras showed him working on the 7B valve for almost 40 minutes. But instead of fixing it, he seemed to be loosening the components. Dorothy paused the video. Marcus, what is this? Marcus was as white as a sheet. I didn't know. Lie. Andrew cut in. He placed another document on the table. Because I found emails between you and James Norton. Emails where you instruct him to postpone valve maintenance to save on his quarterly budget. And when James warned that this could cause a catastrophic failure, you said, and I quote, handle it discreetly. Marcus staggered back, leaning against the wall. Dalton stood up, his expression hard. Mr. Reed, you are being accused of gross negligence, falsifying security records, and attempting to falsely incriminate an employee. He looked at Dorothy. Ms. Chen, I recommend the immediate suspension of Mr. Reed and the opening of a criminal investigation. Dorothy nodded, her face hard as stone. I agree. Marcus, you are suspended. Hand in your badge and leave the building. Now. Marcus looked around the room. Everyone looked at him with contempt. He tried to find words, but there was nothing to say. He took the badge from around his neck with shaking hands and threw it on the table. This isn't over. He murmured. Yes, it's over, Tyler said, standing up for the first time. He walked over to Marcus and stopped inches away from him. You tried to destroy me because you can't see beyond my body, but while you were busy judging me, I was busy proving myself. And now everyone here knows who really put lives at risk. Marcus clenched his fists but said nothing. He turned and left the room, head bowed. When the door closed, Dorothy let out a long sigh. Tyler, I'm so sorry. For everything. Tyler shook his head. You don't need to apologize, Mrs. Chen. You gave me a chance, and I will honor that. Dorothy smiled, her eyes shining. I know you will. Dalton reached out to Tyler. Mr. Brennan, on behalf of the board, I would like to apologize for the unfounded accusations, and thank you for your heroism. If it weren't for you, this plant would have caused a tragedy. Tyler squeezed his hand, still processing everything that had happened. Andrew placed his hand on Tyler's shoulder. Dude, you have the best friends. Tyler looked at Andrew, then Sophia, then Mr. Gus. Tears began to form in her eyes. Thanks. Thank you for believing in me. Sophia smiled. You saved our lives, Tyler. It was the least we could do. Mr. Gus patted him on the back. I always knew, boy. I always knew you were special. Tyler wiped his eyes and smiled. For the first time in years, he felt like he truly belonged somewhere. But the story wasn't over yet, because what happened over the next few weeks would prove that Tyler Brennan wasn't just a hero, he was a legend. 6 months later, the Riverside nuclear power plant was unrecognizable, not physically. The reactors still hummed with the same power. The cooling towers still belched white steam against the blue Ohio sky. But something had changed, something deep. Tyler Brennan was in the control room, wearing his blue senior technician's uniform, watching the monitors intently. Beside him, 3 new interns were writing down every word he said. The key to preventing catastrophic failures is not reacting when the problem appears, Tyler explained, pointing to a temperature chart. It's about identifying the signs before they become problems. Did you see this fluctuation here? It seems insignificant, but in 2 weeks, if not corrected, it could turn into an emergency. One of the interns, a young woman named Maria, raised her hand. How did you learn to identify these patterns? Tyler smiled. Studying, every day, for years. Even when no one believed I would have the chance to use this knowledge. Maria nodded, amazed. She had read about Tyler. Everyone at the plant knew the story. The man who was rejected 3 times, who single-handedly saved the plant, who faced Marcus Reed, and won. Tyler Brennan had become a legend. Dorothy Chen entered the control room, smiling as she saw Tyler teaching the new recruits. Tyler, can I steal you for a minute? Tyler nodded and followed Dorothy into her office. When the door closed, Dorothy sat behind the desk and pointed to the chair in front. Sit down. Tyler sat down, curious. Dorothy opened a drawer and took out a thick envelope. Tyler, over the past 6 months, you've become one of the most valuable technicians at this plant. Their preventative inspections have reduced mechanical failures by 40%. His trainings improved the team's efficiency by 30%, and your leadership skills are exceptional. Tyler felt his heart speed up. Madam Chen, Dorothy raised her hand. Let me finish. The board asked me to find a new operations supervisor. Someone with in-depth technical knowledge, leadership skills, and most importantly, someone who understands that competence has nothing to do with appearance. She pushed the envelope across the table. Tyler Brennan, we are offering you the position of Nuclear Security Operations Supervisor. Salary of $120,000 per year, full benefits, and a team of 15 technicians under his responsibility. Tyler's eyes widened. He took the envelope with shaking hands and opened it. Inside was an official contract, with your name, your title, your new position. Tears started to run down his face. Madam Chen, I don't know what to say. Dorothy smiled. Say you accept. Tyler wiped his eyes and smiled widely. I accept. Dorothy stood up and held out her hand. Tyler squeezed firmly. Welcome to the leadership team, Supervisor Brennan. A week later, Tyler was in the cafeteria having lunch with Andrew and Sophia. Andrew raised his glass of juice. A toast to our new boss. Sophia laughed and raised hers too. To the man who proved that competence has no size. Tyler laughed, raising his glass of water. You are ridiculous. Sound your ridiculous friends, Andrew corrected, smiling. Tyler looked at the two of them and felt a rush of gratitude. Without Andrew, without Sophia, without Mr. Gus, he would never have been able to unmask Marcus Reed. They risked their own positions to defend the truth, to defend him. Thanks, Tyler said seriously, for everything. You have no idea how much this means to me. Sophia placed her hand over his. Tyler, you deserve it. You always deserved it. At that moment, Mr. Gus entered the cafeteria. When he saw Tyler, his face lit up. Supervisor Brennan. Gus walked to the table, smiling proudly. Look at you now. From stubborn unemployed to head of the operation. Tyler stood up and hugged Gus. None of this would have happened without you. Thank you for believing in me when no one else did. Gus patted him on the back. Boy, I only did what was right. The rest was all you. Tyler sat back down, but something was still bothering him. A question I had never asked. Mr. Gus, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you help me? From day one, you could have sent me away. But he didn't. Why? Gus was silent for a moment, then pulled out a chair and sat down next to Tyler. When I was 25, I weighed 170 kilos. Gus began, and at that time, being fat and black was practically a sentence. Nobody hired me. I submitted resumes to over 50 places. Everyone rejected me. Tyler listened intently. Until one day a security manager gave me a chance. He said, Gus, I'm not going to judge you by your weight. I'm going to judge you by your work. And that changed my life. Gus looked at Tyler with shining eyes. When I first saw you stubborn, bringing coffee every morning, studying that plant as if your life depended on it, I saw myself. And I decided that if no one else was going to give you a chance, I would. Tyler felt a lump in his throat. He hugged Gus again, tighter this time. Thanks for everything. Meanwhile, in a small town 200 miles away, Marcus Reed sat alone in an empty bar. He had lost everything. The investigation revealed that Marcus had manipulated maintenance records for more than 2 years to save money and appear efficient. The board fired him immediately. No compensation, no letter of recommendation. His engineering license was suspended, his reputation destroyed, and worst of all, his wife had filed for divorce, taking the children with her. Marcus looked at the glass of cheap whiskey in front of him. He had spent 10 years building a career, and he lost everything in a matter of weeks, and all because of a man he despised. A man he judged by the size of his body rather than the size of his character. Marcus took out his cell phone and opened the local news. The main headline read, "Local hero promoted to supervisor after saving nuclear power plant." The photo was of Tyler Brennan smiling next to Dorothy Chen. Marcus closed his eyes. He had been a fool, arrogant, blind, and now he was paying the price. 3 months later, Tyler was on stage in front of a packed auditorium. The National Nuclear Security Conference had invited Tyler to give a talk on disaster prevention and leadership under pressure. More than 500 people were present. Engineers, technicians, managers from all over the country. Tyler looked at the audience and took a deep breath. He had never spoken in public to so many people, but Dorothy was in the front row, smiling encouragingly. Andrew and Sophia were beside her, and in the back of the room Mr. Gus watched with his arms crossed and a proud smile. Tyler started talking. "My name is Tyler Brennan, and 2 years ago, I weighed 160 kilos and couldn't get a job. I was rejected 27 times, not because I didn't know how to do the job, but because people looked at me and only saw my body." The audience was silent. "But I learned something important," Tyler continued. "Rejection does not define who you are. It only reveals who other people are. And when you stop letting other people's opinions dictate your value, you discover something incredible. You discover that you are capable of much more than you imagined." He paused. 6 months ago, I saved a nuclear power plant, but the truth is that I spent 4 years preparing for that moment, studying when no one believed I would have the chance, memorizing protocols when no one thought I would be hired, because I knew that one day, someone would need me, and when that day came, I would be ready. The audience started to applaud. Tyler smiled. "So for anyone here who has ever been judged by their appearance, their weight, their color, their origin, I have a message. Don't give up. Duster that the best revenge is not proving them wrong. It's proving that you were right all along." The audience exploded in applause. The people stood up. Tyler looked at Dorothy, at Andrew, at Sophia, at Mr. Gus. Everyone was on their feet, applauding, and Tyler, for the first time in his life, felt like he truly belonged. Our Fictional epilogue. 1 year later, Tyler was in his office now, an office with large windows, a glass desk, and a sign on the door that said, "Tyler Brennan, Nuclear Security Operations Supervisor." He looked out the window and saw the plant working perfectly. No alarms, no emergencies, just quiet efficiency. His cell phone rang. It was a message from Grandpa George. "Proud of you, kid. Your mom would be too." Tyler smiled, eyes shining. He picked up a framed photo on his desk. It was his and his mother's 10 years ago before she died. He was 12 years old. She was smiling, hugging him tightly. "I did it, Mom," Tyler whispered. "I proved I was worth it." He placed the photo back on the table and went back to work. Because Tyler Brennan had learned the most important lesson of all, the world will judge you by your appearance, but you will be remembered for your character. Arrogance always falls, humility always wins, and the best revenge is to live well. If you liked this story of overcoming, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because stories like Tyler Brennan's prove that body size never defines courage, and when you refuse to give up, the whole world is forced to respect you.